Hey everybody, Livingston here. Today we're jumping into another fun-filled episode of the Twilight Zone. This time it's Season 2, Episode 16, A Penny for Your Thoughts. Came out February 2nd, 1961, and it's yet another episode I haven't sat down and watched before. But before we get started, let's jump into some comments that you had for last week's episode. Michael Stallings, 5824, says, Agnes Moorehead's acting was amazing. Her fear of the unknown without a spoken word. The use of lightning was also one of the best in the series. Yeah, I mean, there was no words whatsoever, so you had to act out the entire thing. It was just kind of crazy that you didn't really hear any words other than what Rod Serling was saying, as well as the astronaut who was yelling out basically to NASA saying, don't come to this planet, it's not worth it. Galandario Frivendel 4740. Sorry if I butchered that, but that is a long word that I could be reading really, I'm not sure. But anyways, one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes, along with Nightmare at 20,000 Feet by Richard Matheson. Such profound storytelling conveyed using hardly any words at all, save at the end. Only through atmospheric lighting, Agnes Moorehead's superlative acting, and Jerry Goldsmith haunting music. I didn't know that was Jerry Goldsmith's music. I didn't know he scored this. And I can totally see that he did. I mean, just by going back and thinking what it was all about, I actually stated during the episode that it sounded very Hellraiser-ish. And I'm sure they probably taken from that. I mean, it's a very memorable kind of tune. It made everything just feel kind of eerie. Jonathan Stein says, one of the best made episodes in the series due to its minimalism. The closing narration was originally going to clarify that this planet is Mars, but that got cut for some reason. Yeah, I wonder why. I mean, that would be interesting to see that Mars had a bunch of giants walking around. Robert Schulenberger says, I've been waiting to see your reaction to this particular episode because The Invaders was the first episode of The Twilight Zone that I got to watch and started it all for me 24 years ago. Yeah, I mean, it definitely gets the imagination going for sure. I mean, there was a lot of things going on in the background where you didn't even see the aliens at all. Aliens, I say, but it's mostly us, walking around and antagonizing this lady who's just minding her own business and doing her own thing out in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, it's definitely one I can see why it would kickstart your imagination and want to make you keep tuning in every week for the Twilight Zone. California Hummus says, Agnes Moorehead played Endora on Bewitched. I'd like to think she deshelled the astronauts and added them to the soup. I didn't realize that was Endora from Bewitched. Thanks for letting me know that. But yeah, that would be interesting to see. Like, she has a very hard chance looking for food, so why not use the aliens that were breaking into her place? P. Sparks 3419 says, awesome episode with a great plot twist at the very end. Yeah, I kind of called it in the middle of the episode, not realizing that it was going to actually be the plot twist, so that's awesome. And I kind of knew it. I kind of forgot about it when I was about midways into the actual episode until it dawned on me. I'm like, hey, this is the Twilight Zone. What's the twist? And it just seemed like it was kind of right there, but maybe if people weren't realizing that it was a human being inside the alien spacesuit, that's what made it all worthwhile, really. Gene Everett 7855 says, a true classic. Definitely. I think I've even seen the suit. I might have seen it in stores or maybe some pop culture places or whatnot. It looked like it was a very familiar looking suit that the space aliens were wearing. Bruce Dillinger 9448 says, leave it to the man to F things up. Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of sad that they had to break in. They could have knocked on the door and went, hey, let us in. We would like to give you, talk and get to know each other. Maybe make peace and become a federation of planets. I don't know. But let's jump into the next episode and see what we got cooking.
The Twilight Zone.
Get your paper.
Get your paper, get your paper.
Somebody was just talking about Bewitched. Isn't that Darren? Hey.
This must be your lucky day, mister. That'll never happen again in a million years.
You miserable, dirty, low down.
Then Liz can marry Rock and Eddie can marry Tuesday.
That would be a power.
dear. Terribly sorry. If he hits me, I'll die.
Power to read minds. What made it happen?
Just lie still. We'll get a doctor.
I don't need a doctor. Just help me up.
Thanks.
I seem to be all right. If you were hurt, I could never forgive myself.
Is he gonna think something? Oh, what an A.
What did you say?
Lame brain. With your asinine jaywalking, you took 10 years off my life.
Mr. Hector B. Poole, resident of the Twilight Zone. Mr. Hector B. Poole, a bright human coin on his way to the bank.
So because it landed on its edge, it gave him that ability? It's interesting. But would you really want that, to actually hear what people think, even the ones that you love? Everybody has thoughts. I don't care what anyone says. Sometimes those thoughts, you don't want to have anybody know what's really being thought in certain moments of your life.
Oh, no, Felicia, baby, you misunderstand. I didn't mean it the way it sounded.
Sure you did.
Look, how about this weekend, huh? Just you and me, huh? Yeah, come in. Hold on, there's somebody at the door.
It's the boss.
Mr. Bagby, I would like to explain why I was late this morning.
Yes,
My record for promptness is spotless. I pride myself on my attention to duty.
He doesn't care.
You simpering idiot. Do you think she's going to stay on the line forever?
Yeah?
If you ruin my weekend, I'll string you up by the thumb.
Spoil your weekend?
What are you mumbling about? Can he know about Felicia? Possible. I've been so careful.
Ooh. Use it to his benefit. This is one of those things where morality kind of comes into it. How decent of a person are you? Will you use it to your benefit, or will you just kind of pick and choose and not take full advantage of something that you can really climb the ladder with?
Those Dodgers think they can steal second anytime they want.
Who is pitching today?
What?
Good morning, sir. Everything in apple pie order, I trust?
Yes, thank you very much. I'll bet this grinning ape is the one who sent me that overdrawn notice.
No, sir. I work over there in the accounts section.
She has no thoughts. That's got to be good. I kind of wish I had no thoughts. What does she think?
Poor Mr. Poole. He looks tired and pale.
She feels bad for him.
Mr. Poole.
Yeah.
Sykes of Ajax Cement. His loan has been approved. Will you see that the papers are properly signed, also that the check is made out?
Certainly. Won't you sit down, Mr. Sykes?
Thank you.
A business loan for $200,000.
That's quite a sum.
Especially for that time.
Mr. Sykes, you are aware that this loan must be completely repaid within 90 days.
I certainly am.
Pay back the loan and have enough to keep Ajax out of bankruptcy. I'll put half of it on Lucky Lady in the split the rest between Nimble Runner and Crinoline at 5-1.
Nimble Runner, 5-1?
What did you say?
Well, Mr. Bagby, he just told me he's borrowing this money to bet on the horses.
I said nothing of the kind. He's mad.
Poole, you'll come into my office. I'll correct it at once. Talk to you later, Poole.
He's not going to pay that loan back in time. He'll be in default.
Poor Mr. Poole. You do all the work around here and get none of the credit.
She notices, though.
You should speak up more and assert yourself. But I guess that's not in your nature.
Yeah.
I hope Mr. Bagby is easy on you. Good morning, Mr. Poole.
She likes you. Back when the jugs were glass. Must have sucked when you dropped one of those.
Well, please don't be offended, but I would like to thank you for your kind thoughts.
Well, I don't think I quite understand, Mr. Poole.
Romancing the help, Mr. Poole?
No. Mind your business.
I haven't seen such an aggregation of beasts since the last time I went to the circus. This one was probably a tiger under the proper condition.
He's a dirty-thoughted fool.
To the jungle once more.
You did that deliberately. Well, I'll see you later about this.
Oh.
Good for you. He certainly had it coming. Suppose I should get back to my desk.
Yep, you shall. Ding, dang, dong. The music's always interesting in the Twilight Zone episodes.
20 years at the same desk. Ah, but they'll be sorry for their treatment of me.
Uh-oh. What does he mean by that?
Yes. At 4:30 this afternoon, I'll take my briefcase with me, and no one will suspect a thing. I'll fill my briefcase with currency.
Oh, no.
And be on ship to Bermuda by nightfall.
Let him get away with it.
I wonder how long it will take them to discover that the money is gone.
But is he actually going to go through with it? That's the question. I'm sure he was having those thoughts. Maybe he's been having those thoughts for 23 years, and then he's eventually just going to maybe one day do it, but half the time people don't do those thoughts.
Well, one more day, nearly done. And no notches on the gun.
You wouldn't use that gun, would you?
What do you think I got it on my belt for, Hector? Hold up my pants?
Sound like he was happy that he didn't have to pull it out, so be happy that you have a security guard like that.
Miss Turner, may I talk to you for a moment? What I have to tell you is very important.
Yes, Mr. Poole?
Well,
I think she's hoping for a date.
Mr. Jones's office is empty since his transfer.
that is a good idea. Miss Turner, I keep hearing voices, people talking. Their lips don't move, but I can hear their words clearly. I've got this ringing in my head. I can read people's minds. Think something, anything at all.
Why did it take him so long to gather up his courage?
It just happened this morning. Now, Miss Turner, you may think that
Oh, she's liking that.
I have reason to believe that someone plans to rob the bank this afternoon.
Well, if someone's going to rob the bank this afternoon, you should do something about it.
Well, what if I'm wrong, Miss Turner?
You have a responsibility to the bank, to the stockholders and depositors.
Oh, that was almost a kiss there. Come back. Always on the phone.
I've always considered you one of my best men. Why, Poole? Tell me why. Now, we lost the Ajax cement account this morning because of your nonsense. Something, wrong at home? Something bothering you?
I can read minds.
You won't believe it.
Nonsense, of course I'll believe it. Tell me anything.
Mr. Smithers is planning to rob the bank.
Oh, that's serious.
Old Mr. Smithers?
Yep. Waylon Smithers. That's who I think of. Simpsons.
Tonight.
Smithers is one of our oldest and most trusted employees. I absolutely refuse to believe that... Wait a minute.
Thought came?
And who ends up stealing the company funds? Isn't it always the most trusted employee?
Yep, typically.
A man who's been reliable for years until that one moment? No time for sentiment now. Quick now, what's his plan?
Well, at exactly 4:30, it's time.
Watch him. He says he's going to walk into the vault.
He's going to close the drawers on his desk.
Good job. Walk into the vault.
And go to the vault to check up, just as he always does. He'll be back there alone. Only this time, things will be different.
But is he actually going to have the money in the briefcase? Or was it just a thought? That's the question.
Here, what? Just open the briefcase and dump the contents here. Very great mistake. As a matter of fact, I've had my eye on you for a long time.
And
Travel folder.
just a thought. Just a thought.
Where's the money?
Is everyone going insane?
That's what I like about Twilight Zone. It's human nature to think these thoughts, but we never actually go through with them. At least the sane ones don't.
He was going to steal the money. He was going to take a boat to Bermuda. That was the story, huh?
Oh, Mr. Bagby, I heard him.
And who was he talking to, Mr. Poole?
Himself.
He wasn't. He was thinking.
Should have opened with that.
Please forgive us all, Mr. Smithers. I should have known immediately that what I was told was impossible on the face of it. Poole?
I'm fired.
That's right. Clean out your desk at once.
Well,
Mr. Smithers, I don't know what to say. I am sorry.
How did you know, Mr. Poole? It's true, of course. I was thinking of filling my briefcase with the bank's money. It's a little dream of mine. Sometimes it's Siam, Fiji.
well, this would be the perfect time to do it. You go in there tomorrow, doesn't happen. Go in there the next day, do it then. Boom. When they least expect it. When you're at that age, when you got that plan in this era, probably get away with it.
I'm old and set in my ways. And besides, Mr. Poole, I guess I'm a coward.
Is it cowardice to not go through with something that's illegal, or is it just saying not to? Better make your move.
It doesn't matter, Mr. Poole. A man with your ability, hearing people's thoughts.
Miss Turner, it is not a delusion.
I told you.
Until this morning, everything was normal. I was happy. It's like seeing people with their clothes off.
Well,
We do things without thinking about them at all. And we think things without having the slightest intention of doing them.
Oh, Mr. Sykes has been arrested
For gambling with company monies, yes.
$100,000 if that loan had gone through.
Pardon me.
you're not fired.
About your job. It's still available if you're interested.
You're wasted in that job. Everyone knows you should be in charge of the account section.
What do you say, Poole?
Everyone knows I should be in charge of the accounts section.
And that would mean he'd move into Mr. Jones's old office.
That'd mean I'd move into Mr. Jones's old office.
What am I standing here wasting time for?
Yep.
Man, oh man, what a weekend this is going to be.
Have a good weekend. It's Felicia.
Bamboozle you. Stand up to it. He needs you more than you need him.
Let's get down to business, shall we?
Business? What business?
Blackmail?
The business of Felicia and your wife. I know all about it, Mr. Bagby. I know where you're meeting her and when.
That's what I like about the writing in these things, too. Typically, blackmail's looked down upon, but this guy's cheating on his wife. It's okay. So morally, we feel like it's being looked upon in a light more so than a shadow.
There is one more thing. At the bank's expense, I'd like you to buy a round-trip ticket to Bermuda. L.J. Smithers. I think he'd like that.
Are you out of your mind?
Mr.
Yes. He uses his power for good. And would you like to go out on a date?
Shall we leave, Miss Turner?
I'd go anywhere with you, but I wish you'd call me Helen.
May I see you home? Helen.
What do you think I waited for?
Paper, get your late afternoon paper. Latest stocks.
Oh, is he going to lose his power? He lost his power.
I've had that coin standing there all day long and nobody even touched it until you're the guy who stood it up and you just knocked it down.
Lost his power.
It's gone! Helen, think something. Think something! I think it's gone. Isn't that great? Isn't it wonderful? Nothing.
A little bit on the crazy side, though.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear a thing you're thinking.
Can't you?
Kiss me?
One time in a million. A coin will land.
Public display of affection back then. I don't think it was looked upon like it is today.
A human coin on edge for a brief time in the Twilight Zone.
I like this kind of episodes. Happy endings. Well, that was a penny for your thoughts. I really enjoyed this episode. It's a lighthearted one compared to other Twilight Zone episodes, which typically are dark. And I enjoyed this character all together. I mean, the guy was very nice. He actually used his power for good. And it reminded me of a 2000 film starring Mel Gibson, What Women Want, where the guy ended up being struck by lightning, and then suddenly he was able to hear women's thoughts all over the world, I guess. And this was sort of in the same realm of that, but this guy was able to hear everybody's thoughts. And it was one of those moral dilemmas sometimes that you would have. If this was a power that ended up in the lap of somebody who was terrible, it would be used for evil. And if it was something that was in somebody's lap, like the guy that we had in this episode, who was morally a nice guy and his compass was always pointing north in that direction, but, you know, he ended up being a decent person and used his power for good. And that's what happened. And he ended up getting the girl in the end. And he had a better position in life. And it was almost like something that he needed in his life in order to be the guy he needed to be a little more assertive, to actually take command of the situation and kind of climb up the ladder, so to speak, and get what he really actually needed in life. And what he ended up getting was a happy ending. And I enjoyed that when it comes to these Twilight Zone episodes. Happy endings, because they're few and far between. So when you get them, you know, you're like, oh, great. But I think we've had more in Season 2 than we did in Season 1. Season 1 seemed a little more grim in comparison to this season. But so far, I'm enjoying it and looking forward to going forward from this point on. But let's go into some trivia and see what it took to get this episode off the ground. A short story written by NBC writer, producer, director Ted Nealand was the original inspiration for the plot. The actual chance of a coin landing on edge is 1 in 6,000, so not a great chance. One of 2 consecutive Twilight Zone episodes to star a future Bewitched regular, in this case Dick York. The previous episode, The Invaders, starred Agnes Moorehead. Every time I hear the name Dick York, I always think of Wayne's World. It's that one part where Wayne's talking to Garth. He's like, Dick York? Dick Sargent? Sergeant York. Well, the title comes from the Old English expression, a penny of your thoughts, which dates back to John Haywood's compilation of Proverbs, a dialogue containing the number in effect of all the proverbs in the English tongue. Ironically, it is a quarter and not a penny, as used in the title. that stands on edge and allows Hector to read other people's thoughts. Dick York starred alongside Dan Tobin in this episode. Tobin would frequently guest star alongside York in Bewitched. This has been reported to be the inspiration for the movie What Women Want. Hey! Dick York and Hayden Rourke would go on to act on the same house set. The house set was on the Studio Columbia Ranch. York portrayed Darren Stevens, the owner of the house in Bewitched. Rourke portrayed Dr. Bellows, the owner of the house in I Dream of Jeannie. In this episode, Hayden Rourke plays a bank customer whose internal thoughts on his plan to use a loan to bet on horses is heard by Dick York's character. Hayden Rourke is most famous for playing Dr. Alfred Bellows on I Dream of Jeannie. Ironically, in a second season episode of I Dream of Jeannie, Dr. Bellows becomes suspicious when Jeannie magically adds $3 million to Major Nelson's bank account. Dick York was on Bewitched, that was counter-programming to I Dream of Jeannie. This was on another network, though both were filmed on the same Columbia studio lot. This is one of 2 episodes in his career that Dick York had that was set in a bank, the other being The Dusty Drawer on Alfred Hitchcock Presents. The car that hits Hector is a 1960 Ford Galaxy Town sedan. Rod Serling often complained of censorship of his scripts, but here, at a time when married TV couples could not sleep in the same bed, he slips in lustful thoughts of the bank co-workers towards good girl Helen, as well as the bank manager's planned weekend with his unseen mistress. All information that Dick York uses to his advantage. I mean, it's only human to have these thoughts. It would kind of be lying to the audience if you didn't have these thoughts inside of an office. Everybody has thoughts towards everybody, regardless if they're bad, good, lustful, love, or hate, whatever it is. If you're working in an office scene, in general, you're going to have people thinking all kinds of different things about each other. So, I mean, I'm glad that they put in love. I'm glad they put in some lust. I'm glad they put in some hate towards one another, because that's just reality, and that's just how human beings think. We're dirty, thoughted jerks within our own minds sometimes, and when you don't hear what's coming out of our minds, it's probably a good thing. So, thank God that we don't have actual mind readers out there. Or maybe we do and we just aren't, no, we don't know it. I don't know. I have no clue. But let me know, comment below what you think of this episode. And next week I will go through your comments and talk about it. And if you don't mind, please like, share, and subscribe while you're at it to our journey on to episode 156 of The Twilight Zone. And until next time, see you later.